Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 57 of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we saw quite a bit happening. We saw Sumatra begins to reinvade, and they're here to reclaim their spot at number one in the power rankings, which they did. However, Caribbean closed the gap there. Also, now, um, we saw Caribbean prepared their military. There's a communist revolution in Switzerland, which was like pretty big. They were fascists. They were fascist, and now they're that. Um, so yeah. But one big thing we saw not happen was Switzerland was not able to join into the Square Alliance. So that's a pretty big thing. All right, but well, actually, we did see what Caribbean prepared their military for. They declared war on Peru, which activated the Circle Alliance, and with these two gaps alone, that there is enough to make that there is enough for for there to be a gap. Or look, all right, here, let me rephrase this. That these two gaps alone is enough to make Caribbean about equal to the entirety of the Circle Alliance. So, we'll take a look at what this war here will be like. And then, yeah. So, let's get started, because that took way too long. Alright, so we start off with Caribbean invading into Peru. Also, um, I recently started up something called, um, it's I call it just Caucasian WICSO episode 55, which was now 2 episodes ago, Diplomacy Wars. And those it's just a regular diplomacy war, like that us WICSO tubers know. But it's the episode 55 map. So I don't know. I think it'll be fun just to see how people like what people do with the countries I've created. But very quickly, because this is a pretty surprising invasion, we see the capital of Peru is taken over pretty quickly, and from there the nation begins to collapse. We see the African nations are starting to like get their militaries set up and sent out. Um, at this point, some of them have reached out to like these dots out here, but still they're not close to over here. Although there are aircraft that are closer to out here, it's still a very large distance. However, something the Circle Alliance has that Caribbean does not have access to is nukes. These two here are the only two countries in the entire world with nuclear bombs, which is also a big reason as to why they are so high in the military rankings. And so there's that. Speaking of nukes, I forgot to actually implement it onto the map, but these radiation bits that were that are sprinkled around from nukes being dropped, yeah, those are all gone at this point. But we see Caribbean is able to capture these islands, the Galapagos Islands, and they move down, capturing the almost last major city in Peru. But now we see them starting an invasion of southern Peru, I guess. I don't know what to call these guys here, but they invade them too. These these two right here, they even these two together right here probably wouldn't even get themselves into the top 30, if I'm being honest. So these two nations here are both pretty weak. And we see that being especially clear as about not 4 months, about 2 months into this war, both countries have already lost their capitals, and northern Peru is pretty much gone. I guess I should call these guys Ecuador. So they're gone, and southern Peru is not doing well. But on a brighter side, we do see West Africa over here. They did something good, and they made a naval landing up here in near America. But America's not too happy about this because now there's a big war right on their border. And it doesn't take long at all for Caribbean forces, or for Caribbea's forces, to push up against this. Some areas are recaptured, most aren't, though. But Caribbean easily has the upper hand in this war, and we'll definitely be seeing that continue on. However, there is one certain thing. There are other nations that don't like the Circle Alliance at all, and there's other nations that do like the Circle Alliance. So we see a couple countries are going to join this war, because why wouldn't they? And with new countries joining this war, we're going to see the formation of a new alliance led by Caribbean. Well, it's not just led by Caribbean. We actually see it being more countries joining an existing alliance. The Diamonds, which is a very pro-fascist alliance, they're getting some new members. Some of them may be just joining in on this war to get revenge. Others may be because they're helping out fascist allies. But some of the big countries we see joining are over here in the Horn of Africa, or in just Eastern Africa. So that's pretty important. But it doesn't just stay at these countries here. Other, like I said, other countries are going to join the Circle Alliance. One of the big ones we see being this Mozambique country, as well as being this blue country up here, who, oddly enough, doesn't like the circles, but still is joining their side. Another big country we see joining the circles is Egypt. Still, though, with extra help from the diamonds, they're easily overpowering the circles still. However, we do actually see the circle team having an advantage down here as the gold team pushes up through Tanzania. These two are historical rivals, never really have liked each other. So this this doesn't take long at all. A lot of people in Mozambique are completely in support of this, of doing this. So it doesn't affect their stability much at all. We even see this orange country will also join because Tanzania joined this war but never had their military prepared, which is a major uh-oh. So with help from their friendly neighbor down here, they're able to push into Tanzania. Alright. Up here it is very similar-ish story, except Libya has more direct aid coming in, so they're able to fend off a bit better. Plus, with most of these countries in the Circle Alliance, their militaries are away, so it's it's just easier for them like that. The big country that they begin to invade south into this um is the Saharan country here. They attempt to push down to the capital, but I mean, it's the Sahara Desert. What would you expect? They do capture two major cities up here, though. They also will push into the blue team over here. I did not. Okay, I did not mean for this to be a parallel. Um, I just realized we have a red Libya and orange Egypt. Red Libya was kind of based off Red Libya from Hades Pros WICSO, but I did not mean to do orange Egypt next to them. That was complete coincidence. But we see Libya is able to do quite a bit over here. And with the capturing of their capital, or of the blue team's capital, you see all of their African parts fall over. And the green team is more than happy to sweep up some of these extra lands over here. So that's already the second country out of this war. Alright. Now with the orange team down here, or with Caribbean, they have managed to take over all of this country except for this one major city right here. And Caribbean knows once they get all of their focus all of their forces out of here, then they can help out allies out here. But we do see a kind of surprising event happening. We see Tanzania will soon after joining the war. God dang it. Soon after joining the war, Tanzania decides to leave. Oh, don't tell me. Dang it. Okay, well, that'll be a decently easy fix. Jeez. Alright. So Tanzania's left the war. But we do see Mozambique and the orange team here will still continue to invade them. This, I don't know, color country right here, they will follow suit with Libya. And we see Egypt isn't actually going to do anything in this war. Well, they will, but they're not currently doing anything. Similar to Tanzania, they did not have their military prepared, except no one's really invading them because they all had their forces out here anyway. But we do see this country here does end up putting some of their forces to fight into this country. Alright. Coming to West Africa, we see Libya will push in right over here. And this is all just like there's not much anything fighting against these forces here. Alright. Coming down to Caribbean, they just captured the last major city down here, as well as also pushing out forces completely right up here. But we're going to take a break from this war, and we'll move on to the next major event that we have. And for that, we're going to need to come over down to Sumatra. Oh yeah, I'm also going to mention something. This is called the Great Atlantic War. I wonder why. Most of the countries in this war border the Atlantic, so I figured, why not call it that? Even though it is like on 4 continents, 5 technically because of Egypt, but there's no fighting there. So, all right, but this is a really big war. However, it is not technically a world war, as it is really just two alliances fighting against each other, with some other countries added into the mix. All right, but Sumatra. All right, so what is Sumatra doing? Well, they still want more land. They don't feel like their military is quite yet strong enough. Oh, so that's something. I should have mentioned this. Yeah, this is the Trapezoid Alliance. They never did anything when South China was invaded. Um, it's kind of similar story to with the Circle Alliance. Um, they also never did anything when their allies invaded here because the two big countries in this alliance were like not doing anything there. So yeah, they they knew they couldn't really do much with the invasion down here. But another big reason to why is Baikal left as when they became fascist. All right, now let's actually get to this war because I said there was going to be a war. All right, so whoops. All right, so Sumatra invades up into Myanmar, and they're also like once again a very strong country. So they capture the capital. Or they're once again the strongest country. Their big part of their military is their navy. It's actually the same exact story with Caribbean, but once they're once okay, once their coastline was gone is gone, these Myanmar will just completely falter, and we're gonna take a look at what a peace treaty for this will look like. Because it's also similarly to this, not gonna be full annexation. Alright, so here we have the peace treaty. It's pretty simple. All of this goes over to Sumatra, including the Myanmar capital, which means we will be erasing that. Their new capital will be as far away as possible. Well, it's not as far away as possible, but they put it in this major city right up here. Alright, and that means the rest of this will go over back to Myanmar. Alright. Okay then. So now we move on to final event-ish. Um we come up to Switzerland. Not just Switzerland. Mostly this whole of the Square Alliance. And a couple other nations across the world, like America. And I don't know who else. Alright, so America and a lot of Square Alliance, Switzerland, a couple other nations, Caspia. They all start preparing their militaries, and they are ready for war. So we'll, but we'll see everything playing out later. But for now, um, we actually do have one more event we're going to talk about. So, um, another country up here is switching its ideology, a member of the HSC. And that country is Azerbaijan as they switch to communism. But another country will also switch to communism, being the little blue team right here. But let's be honest, like, what is they gonna do? Alright. And also, we see a new ideology being formed. 3 countries will form a new ideology. It's technically not new, but, we see Scandinavian socialism will start up, I believe, actually, again. There used to be Scandinavian socialism up here. But now they're switching back. We see Baltic nation here. They also will switch to it. And the other country is Greenland. So that means one new ideology added to the map. But we are going to talk about this later a bit more. As I'm sure you probably already guessed this was going to happen. But Libya will be switching to fascism. And this world is getting a bit and it's getting more and more separated. But we also see some countries are becoming democracy or full-blown democracies too. The big ones being Sumatra over here, West Africa, and the final one, which is a bit less important, but it is Honshu. Alright, so that will do it for today's episode of What If Civilizations Started Over. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll fix that. But I'll see you in the next one.